Yo, what's going on guys, it's me Morvi and I'm back again with another top 10 video. This time it's Halloween related. We are doing the top 10 most violent and gory games ever to be made. Now we've got a lot of options to choose from. We've got like 30 years of games to go through, but I think I've cut through all the competitors and now we've got the top 10. So grab your sick bag and enjoy. This one is the top 10 most violent and gory games. Let's jump into it. Before we start this video, make sure you check my description down below. It has all the links to my social medias and my Twitch account. Come follow me over there, we can have a chat while I get some achievements. There are also links down there to my other top 10 videos, so make sure you get on them. Right, let's do this. State of Emergency, what a title. The year is 2023 and the economy is in the toilet and no one trusts the government, so they bring in a police state. Riots start happening across the nation to fight against this tyrannical leadership. That sounds strangely familiar. The premise of this game, you join a militia group called Freedom and start fighting against the establishment and regaining your independence. Not only that, you are fighting off other street gangs and groups trying to take control of various districts of Capital City, all while hordes of rioters, looters and protesters storm through the streets, destroying everything and attacking each other. This game is super fun because it is very chaotic. It has an arcade style to it where you build up points by doing as much destruction and murder as you can in a quick time. Although the graphics are cartoon-like, the sprays of blood spewing from the crowds of people while you mow them down with an AK-47 just feels all too real. You can petrol bomb rival gangs' hideouts and shops, burning them alive inside. This game was really fun and it fell into obscurity. Not many people bring this title up, which is a shame as it's an amazing game. The story really resonates in today's society. If you get the chance, I'd really recommend playing this one. There's not many titles like this out there. I'd say the closest title towards this is Freedom Fighters that was on the PS2 and the original Xbox. But this one took the violence to the next level. Shadow of Rome takes place in, well, Rome, 44 BC to be exact. This PS2 gem has you taking control of soldier turned gladiator Agrippa. As he's returning from war, he hears that his father is being framed for the death of Julius Caesar. A gladiatorial tournament is held and the winner gets to kill him. How lucky. So, after a bit of a scuffle, you end up signing up to the tournament to try and save him. This tournament is to the death, so you bet there's a lot of blood and guts galore. This tournament is to the death, so you bet there's blood and guts galore. You fight all sizes of fighters, big and small, as well as some fluffy friends. And your job is to cut them up into small, bite-sized chunks. There are also chariot sections where you get to, well, hurt horses and the men riding them really. This game shows you how brutal these tournaments used to be and how bloodthirsty the crowds were. It was very fun trying all the different weapons to see how much damage they caused. With limbs flying everywhere, it's super fun to mix and match between fast and slow weapons, as well as picking up dismembered limbs to beat down your opponent. Fun fact about this one, there was going to be a Shadow of Rome 2, but it later changed into another blood franchise, Dead Rising. It's quite funny when you watch Agrippa when he's running around the Colosseum, as he has a similar run to Frank West from Dead Rising 1. It's great to see all the gory similarities between the two games. But yes, if you're looking for a Roman gore fest, this is the one for you. This may be the most obscure title on this list. Chiller was an arcade game developed in 1986 and an unlicensed port to the NES came in 1990. It didn't do very well in sales. Why Morvi, I hear you ask? So, you take control of an unknown murderer. The game is set in first person so you never see yourself. In front of you are people you have kidnapped and bound. Did I mention this was a light gun game? No? Oh, well, you can use a light gun or a Nez Zapper to blow chunks off your victims. The sole objective: how quick can you shoot the victims? The quicker you shoot, the more points you gain. You have a time limit to beat, so you need to blast all of the spots on the screen before time runs out. That's the game, that's the objective. The reason it never did well is because the arcade owners refused to stock it, and with good reason. The on-screen victims did not fight back, so the sole aim of this game was how fast you can blast them away. Even though the graphics were primitive, you can clearly make out what these wonky pixels are meant to be. In later levels, the torture victims turn into ghouls and ghosts, but the first two levels where you shoot innocent people, for 1986 this was too much. There isn't too much to say about this game, as there is only 4 levels with 1 additional secret level. There is a lot of shock factor involved with this one, and as I said, at the time, these developers were very brave putting this out and trying to make a sale. I think it's the fact that you're not fighting bad guys like in other titles at the time. You are fighting innocent, bound people that cannot defend themselves. And being able to see their insides once you've blown them apart, as I said, yeah, I think it was just in bad taste. I think this game did maybe make people look at games in a different way, especially that they can involve more adult themes as opposed to a little plumber man eating mushrooms. Even the Mortal Kombat guys thought this one was in bad taste, which leads me to our next game. Now, this title takes the biscuit for a lot. Murder, drug use, and the whole franchise built from showing the fun side of being a sociopathic gangster with magic powers to spawn fighter jets in the street. Although this game isn't as gory as others, the body count we've all racked up across all the games definitely mounts up. GTA has always been a violent game, even in its humble beginnings. It wasn't until GTA 3, when the game was fleshed out in 3D with full voice acting, it gave a whole new depth to the series. And of course, when graphics get better, so does the carnage. In earlier renditions, such as 3 and Vice City, you could remove heads, run people over, fill innocent people with holes, and murder the police. You could even beat someone to death with a dildo. Even though you could do all this in game, it still had an animated feel to it. It was clear you was playing a game. It wasn't until GTA 4 and 5 where the next gen allowed Rockstar to get a bit more creative with their gruesomeness. Characters act more realistic, as well as a very nice upgrade to the melee combat, which is probably my favourite thing to do in GTA. One scene that sticks in my mind from the series is the torture scene in GTA 5. I personally thought it was a really well made mission, albeit a bit graphic. You play as Trevor, and your job is to get the info out of a man tied to a chair. You have an assortment of instruments at your disposal to get him to talk. If he passes out from pain, don't worry about that, you can inject him with adrenaline. This mission really kicked up a fuss, and by doing so, Rockstar had to implement a screen that allowed you to skip the torture if you'd rather not see it. Personally, I don't understand the people who complain about stuff like this. You bought GTA, what the hell was you expecting? This is the second Rockstar title on the list, but will it be the last?
My name is not important. What is important is what I'm going to do. I just fucking hate this world and these human worms feasting on its carcass. My whole life is just cold, bitter hatred. And I always wanted to die violently. This is the time of vengeance, and no life is worth saving. And I will put in the grave as many as I can. It's time for me to kill. And it's time for me to die.
2015, what a simpler time. The most we had to worry about was if Twitch allowed gamers to stream this title. Hatred is a top-down shooter with a very unique twist. You are playing as a long-haired goth dude who's had enough of the world. What made this game so taboo was the emphasis on the realism. NPCs act like civilians would in real life. They run in fear, hide in closet, or plead with the main character to let them to live. Sadly, our unknown goth guy doesn't have any mercy, and there are a multitude of ways to execute unlucky humans that get in his way. The aim of the game is very simple. You walk around the various urban maps, murdering everyone in sight. You have little side missions within each map, and that points you in the direction of where to start the chaos. On the first level, for example, one of the side missions is to crash a house party. At the beginning, no one's really alert to what you're doing, but the more you kill, the more the law enforcement is contacted. Eventually, you're not only killing innocent people, you're now fighting off the law. I think the most shocking part about this game is that everything is focused on the brutalism of the game. The main character has no name or backstory, and the only thing you are told is that he's had enough and he's ready to kill. Some of the locations you go have been involved in shootings in real life, which in turn, this game is kind of glorifying that. What makes this game extra creepy is that you can boot down people's doors and go into their houses and then start murdering. In the end, this game was nothing much more than shock factor. The first couple of levels were a little bit fun, mainly because of the edginess, but it soon became pretty monotonous. You could tell the developers took a lot of influence from Postal, another game that may be appearing in this list, but yeah, it had been done. Like I said, aside from the shock factor, there wasn't really much to this game. Little side note, this game also blew out my PSU, so I have a bit of a grudge on it. Beginning his journey in 1993, Doom Guy knows all too well about gore and wiping away the blood from his visor. Doom began its life in 1993 on PC, but by 1995 it was making its way onto home consoles. For the time, this game was a pioneer of the FPS genre, taking control of and looking through the eyes of Doom Guy as he slays the non-stop forces of hell. Doom got a bit of a reputation for being ultra-violent with the blood sprays, constant killings and corpse mounts. This shocked the Karens of the 90s, and subsequently certain parts needed to be changed to get that crucial 18+ rating for consoles. Nothing like this had really been seen since Mortal Kombat, which was released in arcades 2 years prior. As the franchise went on, the gore and violence grew. Doom 2 became a fan favourite, polishing out bugs from the first game and making the overall experience smoother. This title became prolific with speedrunners. As for Doom 3, I don't really have much to say about it. It was gory and spooky, but it felt like the final nail in the coffin for the franchise, as it went from crazy shoot 'em up to silly jump scare horror. That is until 4 years later when Doom 2016 appeared, the resurgence of an iconic title that was very well received, and they went back to their roots and amped up the aggression 100%. Not only are we killing endless hordes of monsters that love nothing more than to cover the stages in their own blood, we now have finishing moves. Each weapon had its own variation of finishing move, from ripping the jaw off, pulling out their eyes, decapitating them, as well as beating them with your bare hands. They went all out on the shock factor, and it really paid off. All in all, there aren't many titles like Doom, and it needs to be praised for pushing the boundaries in a time where people were used to playing Mario.
Here before you finish all those errands.
Yeah, whatever. I guess this crap ain't gonna get done by itself.
I guess you could call this one Hatred's great-great-grandfather. Postal is a PC game released in 1997 and follows a man that has just been evicted from his house. He thinks the airbase in his town is polluting the air and that everyone is infected apart from him. So, do we give them medicine? Tell them to get an early night in bed? No, of course we don't. We savagely massacre everyone in sight. Like Hatred, Postal has a top-down field of view. Looking down, you're able to see where all your victims are. To progress through the levels, you need to murder enough people within each stage to move on. The story is also similar in the sense it is quite broad. It's clear you are playing either a conspiracy theorist or someone who is spiralling into mania. It wasn't until later adaptations of the game do we see it evolve. Postal 2 changed perspective entirely and began anew as an FPS. This really changed up the game. You are now able to look into the eyes of your victims before setting them on fire or tasing them. You was given several tasks at the start of each day and you had to complete throughout the week. You could do this passively and act like a nice neighbour, or you could murder everyone in your way to go get the milk. All in all, if you don't take this game too seriously, it can be a lot of fun and you can kill a few hours in this game as well as a couple of hundred people. At the time of its release, this game got some very sketchy reviews because of the content inside it. Obviously, the main goal of this game is to murder everyone. There is a guise that there are some side missions, but really, yeah, we're going around killing everyone in sight. But yeah, as I said, it's a fun little game. If you get the chance, definitely pick it up. Now, it wouldn't be a top 10 goriest game without mentioning The Godfather. Mortal Kombat needs no introduction. This game is the main reason we have so many titles on this list today. From 1991, Mortal Kombat was the pioneers of dismemberment and gore. Every iteration of the title pushed the carnage one step further. From fatalities and location executions, to the more recent X-ray moves. You can pull your enemies apart bone by bone. There's nothing like landing an X-ray move, tear your enemy to literal shreds, just to watch them get up again. These fighters don't go down easily though. You can snap their spine, gouge their eyes or shatter their skull, and there's a good chance they're getting back up. In specific games there are also additional ways to finishing off your enemies, such as brutalities, animalities and verbality. Mortal Kombat has had its fair share of controversy. Every single iteration has had to tweak certain parts of their game for certain countries, and in some cases the title has been banned outright. Even today, the latest game, MK11, is banned in various parts of Asia. Mortal Kombat took gaming to the next level. In the days of Street Fighter, Contra and Gauntlet, the gaming world hadn't seen much gruesome visuals up until that point. It was clear game developers wanted to disassociate the gaming world from real life. A lot of the guns were changed to blasters or ray guns, and there was a lack of blood and guts. Up until Ed Boon and his blood-hungry team came to the scene, they had a real passion for uppercuts and pulling out spines, obviously. This franchise will go down in the history books as it did so much for the gaming scene, especially with what can be shown on screen. So, here's to you guys. I suppose when thinking of this title, you was never expecting it to be a family-friendly puzzle platformer. The Punisher is a third-person shoot-'em-up with an emphasis of destruction. The first half of the game, you are in prison on Rikers Island, going through flashbacks of how you got there. This is where the game begins. Now, this isn't your average shoot-'em-up, especially when playing as Marvel's anti-hero. You blast your way through various urban backdrops, killing the villainy this city holds. From crack houses, construction sites, funeral homes and meat packaging plants, as well as a host of other gloomy backdrops to leave a trail of death and destruction behind. The main part of the gameplay is shooting. Punisher can dual wield pretty much anything in this game, from assault rifles, shotguns, pistols and many more. Before each mission, you find yourself in the Punisher's lair and you can customise and upgrade weapons you found during the levels. Now, does the shooting scenes make this game gory? Oh hell no. It's the torture scenes, of course. Yes, you heard me correct, the torture scenes. Within each level there are characters you need to get to and get information from. Thankfully the designers added a bunch of ways to get these guys talking. This includes drilling someone's eyeballs out, dunking them in boiling metal, smashing doors and windows on their face, and even a tree shredder. The shooting part of the game did feel quite samey as you kill the henchmen the same way throughout the game, run and gun. The torture scenes are what made a lot of people keep playing, as these scenes were very graphic, and at the time, this had not really been done in a game before. Although this game was very brutal, the developers made sure that they got their 18+ certificate and used camera angles to their advantage. Some of the torture scenes you didn't actually see the Punisher go through with it, you just heard screams and blood splatter. But some you very much saw everything. I think we all knew this one was coming. Manhunt. Rockstar's third title on this list, but this time it delves into some really dark material. This one was released in 2003, and even made the guys at NetherRealm shudder. It was a real hold my beer moment for Rockstar. This was a very different path from their last creations, GTA Vice City and State of Emergency, which was also super violent, but that game was a lot more comedic and within a world that was clearly fantasy. Manhunt did the same thing, where the world was very surrealistic, but the violence is a lot more real. You play James Earl Cash, a criminal that is sentenced to death. But it's not quite that simple. Where the world thinks you got executed, actually you were saved by an unknown man speaking to you through a monitor. He tells you that you must help him rid the streets, all while filming yourself doing it. It's very clear this man wants to make snuff films and slasher films and distribute them to his clientele, and you are merely just a pawn. Each weapon had at least one or more execution finishing moves you could perform on your enemies. What made this game eyebrow raising was the graphic executions you could do. Each time you successfully did one, the camera would change to what looked like a handheld camera that got a closer look at the person's demise. It felt as if the person talking to you is filming you, like a snuff film. You used various household objects such as plastic bags, hammers and knives, as well as a bunch of stuff you may find lying around, such as bits of wood, glass shards and bricks. Within the first minute of the game, you have to suffocate a man with a plastic bag, and if that isn't an entrance to the brutality of the game, I don't know what is. Later on in the game, you get your hands on a lot more firearms that has their own list of evil executions. This game is quite notorious as it was involved in a gruesome murder in the UK. It also subsequently got banned in Australia and New Zealand due to the constant violence throughout the game. It will probably go down in history as one of the most gruesome games ever made. You will need a strong stomach to play this one, but the graphics haven't aged well. The executions are still pretty shocking, but the cube-like characters don't look very realistic to today's games. But congratulations Rockstar, no one's actually beating you in the most goriest and gruesome game ever made. Well done. And that's your lot. That's my top 10 most violent and gory games. Did you like my video? If you did, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Are there any games that are not on my list that you think deserve to be there? Let me know down in the comment section. But I think that's your lot, guys. I'm going to be doing more sea salt playthroughs, and I do have a full achievement run of Inside coming out, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that one. But I think we're done here today. I've been Morvi, and I'll catch you later. Peace!